Hello and welcome. We're back for another episode of Beer Analysis 101. I'm your host, Lee Russell, and I have my exalted panel here of just amazing people. Just they're the best people. They're the best people I know. They're great people. I've got them on all the best projects and doing all the best things. We're going to be looking at Moosehead Lager this time out. So we're going to be looking at a Canadian classic of sorts. And so we'll just get right into the introductions on who's on the panel here. From my left to right on my screen, we have the albino rhino himself, Chad. How you doing, sir?
Oh, just peachy keen, sir. Peachy keen.
All right. We have the guy who does not live up to his name, Average Joe. How you doing, sir?
I'm below average currently. See how it progresses.
I didn't say below or above.
I'm below average. Maybe like super below average. It's all right.
Okay. Then we have Jamie in the basement. How you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. Greetings.
We have Greg Bylog, the motherfucker himself. What are you doing, sir?
I'm just excited that Macho Man named me by name. I'm no longer an assorted individual.
I paid him an extra $1 to put your name out there.
Well spent, good sir. Well spent.
Yeah. Followed by another guy who's still in the basement currently, but they'll soon change. Chris Laser Eyes Lizak, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, thank you very much. Thanks for having me today, and Macho Man, you rule. Thank you. I
had to pay him $2 for say your name, but
I got named twice in a row. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Now, next we have the dirty French wizard himself, Guy Lachance. How you doing, sir?
Feeling as horny as ever.
Horny. I think he said horny as ever or ornery as ever. I can't understand the accent. Still can't.
I think it's the latter.
I think it was both at the same time.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of everything.
Horny on the ladder.
And finally, from the shitty province of New Brunswick, Nicholas himself, Maxwell Stars Beer Reviews, the awesome Nick Lowe. How you doing, sir?
All right. I'm not doing too bad.
All right,
I was doing better until you had to go fucking ruin it.
Oh, this is classy.
Whoa! I'm doing fine.
Classy
language.
Yeah. This already went downhill.
Well, admit it. Your province is shit. Okay. Moving on. So we're going to be looking at Moosehead. So you guys all want to crack your Mooseheads open?
Not really.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's an option.
This is Moosehead Lager from St. John, New Brunswick. Moosehead Breweries, 5%
ABV province.
Hey, it's not skunky.
13 IBUs. I actually found the IBUs for this. 13 IBUs. It is classified as a pale golden lager. It can also be classified as an American adjunct lager. It's brewed with 100% Canadian two-row pale malt and Moosehead's own special lager yeast. They get their barley malt from Winnipeg, and they also have corn in the form of corn syrup in it as well as an adjunct.
Lovely.
And hops from Steiner out of Germany. Although I couldn't quite discover what hops they actually use. The best suggestion I could find was on a homebrew clone, which said Tettnang and Hallertauer. So that might be it. It does seem like, and we'll get into it. Seems like they use some sort of Germanic, sort of grassy herbal hops. So there you go. And so first off, I'll just mention for myself, the only formats I can get this in are 12 by 355 milliliter cans for $25.82, or 12 341 milliliter bottles for $25.61. Currently, that's all I can get. What about you guys? Can you guys get just like singles, or?
You can get singles, 473s, 355s, 341s, 12, 6-packs, 12-packs, and 2.4s for the bottles.
It's $2.40 for a can, so like a 473 mil or like a 16-ounce can. $40 2.4 of the bottles, and then like a 6-pack of bottles is almost $14.
It's like $14 for a 6-pack, $13.50 or something for a 6-pack of bottles here. I can get 6s, 12s, 24s, and I don't think I can get anything larger than 24 in bottles. In cans, I think I can get flats. I can get 12s, no 6s. And the 12-pack, like I bought a 12-pack of cans tonight. They were $25.99 for the whole pack. for 12. Same price as the bottles.
This is Canada's oldest brewery, of course, oldest independent owned brewery, established in 1867. So it's basically celebrating 150 years along with Canada for their 150th birthday. And started by Susanna Owens, and it's been in the family now for 6 generations of Owens, although it's had many different names. And the Moosehead lager itself was not established until sometime in the 1970s. I couldn't pin down an exact date, but it was brought in. But they had other brands before that. They had the Pale Ale and they had the Alpine Lager that came in beforehand. But this has become their big one. And they first released it in the 70s in green bottles. So it was sort of their signature thing. But we'll move on from the history now.
I just want to say my price point and availability being in the States. I only get it in 12-ounce bottles from what I can tell anyway. $7.99 a 6-pack, $1.39 a single. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move right into it and start getting people's sort of history of this and their opinions on it. So we'll start with you, Rhino. When was like the sort of first time you had this, and what is your sort of general thoughts on it?
Probably first time I had it, I would have been about 19. So what, 16 years ago? Didn't care for it all that much back then, but I mean, green bottles and didn't sell all that much. I do remember, after a while getting it fresher and not minding it, it became my domestic of choice at most bars that I'd go into. Last time I was in the States, we found a 2-4 of cans for $12 in Pennsylvania. And that's back before I knew that they had kind of done a different recipe for the U.S. market. So I got excited. I'm like, yeah, I don't mind this. $12, I'll buy it. And I drank 2 cans from it and dumped the rest.
But what are your sort of thoughts on it now, though?
It's, it's a domestic that's drinkable. What else can you want from it, right? Like, it's not bad.
Well,
it's still, if I go into a place that, say, serves Molson, Labatt, and this, I'll buy this.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to you, Joe. Is this like the first time you've ever had it?
No, I've had it before. I didn't actually start drinking beer like much at all until like 2008, 9-ish. So I had it a couple times beforehand, a couple times in Canada, a couple times here. I don't remember much about it because it was usually at like parties or something of that nature. I didn't go out and buy it myself. So I guess my opinion would be invalid from back then because I don't remember much other than not hating it, kind of like Rhino. I would choose it all the time over Molson Canadian and Labatt Blue, like every single time. Now I'm drinking it now. Chad mentioned that, the version in the States is different and they brew one in Canada to import to the States. My bottle specifically says nothing to do. It says it's brewed and bottled by that and imported. It doesn't say it brewed for anything like that. So I think this is a legit bottle from Canada, not changed. And I enjoy it. I'd say this is, for me, we did the Coors Banquet a couple weeks ago. I enjoy it more than that. It's very crisp and clean, and I'm digging it. It's very easy to drink, especially when it's super cold. Am I right?
Am I right?
That's the way you have to drink it, yeah, of course. Jamie, moving on to you, sir.
I honestly don't remember ever having this beer before, like maybe at a wedding, but it was just one of those beers I never picked up. So it's new to me. I mean, maybe I had it once, but I don't remember it. It's been so long. So, but trying it now, it's super refreshing. Goes down easy. 5%. It's like I'd say it's a perfect camping beer. Yeah. If I was going camping, I'd get some cans of this. Or if I was at a bar, like Joe said, where there was a few other beers that are, Coors Light or Canadian, or this, I picked this. It's good.
Right on. Gregory.
Same thing as everyone else. It's a decent beer. It's a decent domestic lager. It's much better than Molson Canadian. It's generally much better than most of the shitty lagers you get. Unfortunately, most bars you go to that have Molson Canadian often don't have Moosehead. It's usually they either have craft beer or they have Molson Canadian. Usually they don't have in-between stuff like this, because this I would pick over that no problem. And I don't know when my first time having this was. Like probably sometime when I was in high school. Yes, I drank when I was underage.
Ooh, serious. We got a badass over here.
Yeah, what a rebel.
All right, moving on to Chris Lizak. How you doing, sir? What do you think of this one?
Well, let's go back to my history. The last time and the only time I ever had Moosehead in a bottle was given to me at a bar. And I can remember pretty clearly that when that bottle was cracked open, it was skunky as hell. Yeah. Green bottle sitting in the fridge. It was just skunky. I took one sip of it and I said, I'm not drinking this ever again. Going now, fast forward into 2017, picking up the cans of Moosehead. I'm quite enjoying this beer. I'm going with Joe on this one. When he said we did the analysis of Coors Banquet, and this is way better. I like this beer. I can sit here, I wouldn't say huge in the way better scenario, like, I'm gonna fucking, go crazy over it. But I mean, it is better for me, my own taste. This is better than Coors Banquet. This will be a go-to if I'm in a bar where I have, much to choose from. And if they have Moosehead, hopefully in a can. If not, then we'll try the bottle and hopefully it doesn't come out all skunky. But I quite enjoy this. I'm really happy with the can of this.
Awesome. Guy.
I just remember buying a 2-4 once in a while when I started drinking, and pretty much spread it on from then. I still drink it once in a while now, especially at the restaurant. I'll still have some, and it's very better than the Urine Rat Pack brand. Much better. I really enjoy this one.
Cool. Nice. Nicholas.
Well, considering they're from my hometown, I got a deep personal history with Moosehead. In fact, they're sister beers. Moosehead Pale Ale was the first beer that I ever remember drinking back when I was a little kid at a ball game with my dad. And Alpine is another sister beer. It was the first beer that I ever got drunk on, underage too. So there you go, Greg.
Don't do it.
As far as Moosehead goes, I mean, I'm not as big a fan of the lager as I am of the pale ale, but it's still a very solid pale ale. And anytime I'm at a bar and I just need to drink something they have on tap, and I don't care about getting it done like some kind of extra tap in on Untapped, I'll buy this. This is really quite a nice lager.
All right, and we'll go in reverse order here. So we'll start with you, Nick. Well, what sort of score would you give this out of 10 then? Where would you sort of place it for both personal enjoyment and just in style?
Personal enjoyment, like if you're rating it if you're rating it on like an overall scale of like craft beer. I mean, of course, it's not as enjoyable as some of the IPAs and stouts we might get. I don't want to sound like a snob or anything when it comes to that, but as far as enjoyable beers, I do find it very clean and easy to drink, very crisp. I'm actually right now sampling both the can and the bottle right at the moment. And
Monster.
Yes, I'm double fisting. I even got a retro.
Imbibe responsibly, please.
I even have a 1970s retro Moosehead glass right here.
Nice.
Does it make it taste any better?
I find that the can is a little bit grassy. Maybe it might be something to do with how fresh it is, or maybe the can keeps it fresher. But I find it a bit sweeter and a bit grassier as far as the taste go, and maybe a touch more metallic. And the bottle's maybe a little bit more muted. It's not skunky or anything, but it's almost like a little bit muted and a bit touch brinier maybe in comparison to the can. As far as scores go, as for rating it as a beer on its style, it's one of the best adjunct lagers that I can think of. It's super clean, it's easy to drink, it's inoffensive, and I actually enjoy the flavors that get out of it. So for its style, I give it a 9. As far as my personal score, I give it a 7 because I mean there's all kinds of beers that are better than it overall, really. But as far as do I enjoy the beer? Oh hell yeah! If I was over at somebody's barbecue or a bar or something, I wouldn't complain about being handed one of these, and probably buy it myself.
Right on, Guy.
I'm on par with Nick for style-wise. I'll give it a 9 out of 10, and I guess for myself, I'll give it a 37.69.
All right, Chris.
For style, you know what? Nick's nailed it. I mean, everything that Nick said there pretty much nailed it with style. This is a very easy, clean, drinkable beer. I'm going to have to give this one a 9 as well for style. Personal taste, There's lots of beers out there. I like this so far. Better than the Banquet. I can't remember offhand what my rating was on the Banquet, but I'm going to give this one about 7.5. I will buy this when I'm out and about, or if there's a choice in front of me of all kinds of, macros in front of me, I'm picking this one.
Right on. Gregory.
Kind of the same thing. Style 8.5. I mean, it's an adjunct lager. You can't really get too much better. I don't even know if you can get better, but it's good. For my own personal taste, I definitely like it more than Coors Banquet, which looking back, I think I overrated a little bit. But I think I gave that a 6.5. I think I was a little generous. I think I would go with about a 6.5 to a 7 on this in terms of personal taste. Especially if it's cold. Now that this is warmed up for about 10 minutes, it's hurting a little bit. But yeah, we'll say 7.
Awesome. Jamie.
I'd say for style, I'd give it an 8.75, and I don't have to agree with Greg or Nick.
Yeah.
There's no strong flavors or faults. It looks the part, tastes the part. Just the smell, maybe for me, it could smell a little bit better. That's the only points I'm docking from it. Personal enjoyment. If I was fishing and had a cooler of this and they were ice cold, they would be probably a 9. But in general, I'd say 7.5.
Right on. Joe.
Admittedly, for me, I am probably the noob of this panel when it comes to adjunct lagers. I haven't had a lot in my life. So much like Greg, I think I rated the Coors a little higher. I did have a 24-ounce can as I continued drinking that last week. Or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. It got a little bit cloyingly sweet and kind of hard to drink as I went on. So I think I did like a 6.5, 7. I'd actually drop that down to 6 for personal. But this being the first time I've sat down and like dissected it, fuck you, sirens. As I dissected it, I would say that it's for the style. It's fucking great. Not much wrong with it. I'd probably give it a 9 like every fucking other person other than Jamie because he's cooler than us. As far as the style goes, I will give this one a 6.5 to 7. One thing I like about this, as opposed to a lot of other adjunct lagers, at least in my personal opinion, is it's not as sweet as those. It doesn't have the overwhelming corn sensation that you get in a lot of them. And it seems like carbonation is a bit stronger and it makes it a bit more crisper and it finishes very clean. And I thoroughly enjoy that. So it's one of those beers where you're not, crushed with all these different flavors that you might not like as the beer warms up or as you drink more of it. I'd crush a 6-pack of this. It's relatively cheap in the States. If I had to go to adjunct lager, I'd probably pick this going forward, although more to come, right? So we'll see. But I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good beer.
Right on. And Rhino.
For myself personally, I'd probably give it a 6.75. As you know, my ratings is whether or not I would normally buy it. I have no problem drinking it. If I'm at a bar where it's the best choice, I'm going to buy it. But I'm not going to go to the LCBO or beer store and normally buy it myself just to bring home. Stylistically, it's actually listed as an American adjunct, is it not?
Depending where you look, it's either Golden Pale Lager or American Adjunct Lager.
Okay, so stylistically, I'd probably give it a 7 then, because it's more like a Euro Lager / Pilsner. Because it has that more grassy back end. I mean, it's fine. It is exactly what you want. But if that's what they're going to categorize it as, those two lager styles should be basically tasteless, which is why Canadian and Coors and everything always win awards in it.
Right. Although I believe this actually did win awards in 2016 for that category. I can't remember what award it was, but for me personally, this is one I've always liked. It's, as far as I can remember, it's the one that my dad was giving me sips of when I was 4 years old. So I was indoctrinated very early into this one.
That's why you're the king.
I haven't noticed any big change in it over the years drinking it as well. It seems like it stayed incredibly consistent for what it is. Of course, back then I was only drinking macro stuff anyway, so this sort of stood out a bit more at the time. I kind of felt like it does have that sort of grassy, slightly herbal kind of hop thing going on there, but it's not as pronounced as I used to think it was back in the day, of course, after having so many beers under my belt now. But this is still one I can go back to and enjoy all the time, and I do enjoy it, and there's no faults as far as I can tell in it, like no brewing faults. I mean, I think maybe it might end up being a better beer if they weren't brewing it with some corn syrup to put in there, like if they'd just gone 100% Canadian malt like they say, and advertise. But I mean, that's a nitpick. It's definitely better than a lot of these adjunct lagers out there. It's easy to drink, and it's a good presentation, and I've always enjoyed it. So I mean, stylistically, I'd probably go around an 8 or something along those lines, because when I think of this style, I don't know, I guess I feel biased where I kind of gravitate towards more European influence in that style, so that's probably where that sits for me. And as just a personal enjoyment, I'd probably be sitting around a 6.5 to 7, something along those lines as well. I think there's better lagers out there, and better macro lagers out there that sort of change things up a bit, but don't necessarily fit this style to a T. So that's where I kind of put it. So unless anyone has any other comments, we can move on to any comments anyone's left in the actual chat.
One thing I would like to point out, at least again, compared to Coors and some other beers, I feel like this has a slightly lighter body. Not in like the Coors Light or Bud Light realm, but it seems like the body's more of like a higher side of light body. Where we had like Coors a couple weeks ago, and that was like straight up medium body, which surprised me for 5% lager. And then on top of this, I just want to say, I don't know about Nick over there, but I no skunk from this green bottle that I have no idea how old the fucking thing is. So no skunk, and also drinking out of a Teku glass made it like infinitely better. Clearly.
Oh yeah,
Of course, it's a whole new beer.
That's like a 9.5.
And I do agree with
9.5.
what you said earlier as well there, Joe, about it being more effervescent than a
88.
lot of other adjunct lagers.
It has a lighter body than the crisper, kind of feel from the carbonation. It kind of sets it apart. I'm not going to sit here and say I could tell in a blind taste test, but the few adjunct lagers I've had, it just kind of stands out a little bit. I enjoy it.
I forgot to mention, I'm drinking mine warm, and it still tastes good.
gross.
It's like urine.
Jamie, you are
not super warm, but
Sicko.
you're a better man than every single other person on this panel.
But everyone already knew
He's drinking
that.
it hot. He boiled it, and then
He's not
let it
quite
cool
in
down.
Paul from PA Brew News territory, as Lance likes to call him, Paul from PA Beer Review PC News. Like it doesn't.
I'm more of a I need to heat my drinks up.
Yeah.
Hey.
Not quite boiling.
Yeah. Anyone
Okay.
need a Werther's?
How original.
So do we have comments, Lee?
Yeah, we got quite a few, looks like, here. So we'll start off. Kent Beer Review says, hi, guys. At last, been a lot of shit on for the last half hour. So, yeah, there we go.
Thank you, Craig.
By the way. And, yeah, it was shit. I agree. I was watching some of it. Oh, God, someone's got the Brewmaster out.
I want to see what Brewmaster says about Moosehead.
Yeah, I think it's on there. Dollahan Brewing says, has Chad got the lights on, or is that just his albino glow in the dark superpower?
Ooh.
It was the albino glow in the dark at the time.
Get a blue light.
He's sitting on a flashlight. He's sitting on a flashlight.
Dollahan Brewing says, Jesus, Jamie is still alive. Haven't seen him in ages.
Yeah.
And Jim Sear, hello, Jim. Nice to see you. What the hell did I stumble onto here?
The greatest thing in the world is what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dollahan kind of summed it up here. He said the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Jim. Saving the world one beer at a time, Jim says. Says the moose is loose. Jim says Alpine was the beer of choice if you were 18 to 23 up north of New Brunswick back in the day. And Jim asks, did you guys get that Moose Anniversary lager? I had the Moose Anniversary one. It was an ale, wasn't it? It wasn't a lager. It was an ale.
Yeah, it's an ale.
Yeah.
It's an ale.
Yeah.
It actually was not bad.
Yeah, it was decent. It was pretty good stuff. And yeah, that's it. That's all we have for comments. And what does the brewmaster say, Joe?
Me?
Nick?
Huh.
I'm trying to
I
bring
can
it
make
up.
up a score for it.
I'm trying to figure out how to go to.
Nick,
I
I'm
can
just going to
actually
say
find,
this.
I can find it on the list here, but I can't select it for some reason.
Stop using your penis. Now use your fingers.
The fact that you have a brewmaster and have no idea how to use the thing is very
I'm
sad.
not Ewart. Give me a break.
Well, you're not, clearly. You already had everything up for us,
You're
including
broken
the
already.
review.
Do
You
I,
would
have
have
to
already
pull,
been reading jokes.
do I have to pull up my brewmaster? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
shit.
what she said.
Okay, so I found the screen. What do I hit to actually scroll down in the list itself instead of going to the next page?
Google that shit.
Nick, this is so embarrassing for you. I apologize on behalf
That's
of
why Ewart should have sent it to me instead of Nick.
Yeah.
Probably.
You should have maybe had some prep time with it. A little bit of prep time.
Maybe we should just
do everyone a favor there.
Yeah, maybe we should just follow up next week.
Yeah. Nick, if you can't find the next 30 seconds, we're going to have to go. We're just going to have to go.
And you're muted, by the way, so whenever you
Yeah, if
find
you
out what you're looking for.
Oh, you found
I
it?
think you
Unmute
said unmute
yourself.
yourself.
Nope.
All right, so the brewmaster scored at 81.
Out of 81?
It's a type lager style pale lager. Alcohol by volume 5%. Distribution international. Blah blah blah. What's the review say? Pale yellow hue, hints of sweet malt follow through on a crisp light body palate with a fruity, lightly hopped finish. A mass market quaffer. Hey, quaffer. It's very quaffable, wouldn't you say, Joe?
It's, dare I say, quaffable. Also,
It's
is
like-
that the most
I've got
generic
like,
fucking
I've
beer
got like
advocate
an
review ever?
electronic average Joe here in my hand.
Thank you.
Orange candies.
Sounds a little
Orange
better
candy.
than me.
It doesn't say orange candies.
All right, the brewmaster has spoken, so I think we should close the ceremonies now and end off another Beer Analysis 101. What do we think we should be doing next week, though, there, guys? Because we want to move to another craft again, and I saw two possible Sam Adams additions to to the possibility list there.
Possibly Red
Racer.
Red Racer.
Blush
Oh,
and
Red Racer.
Assembly.
Yeah, so
There's Goose Island and Beauty everybody can get too.
Yeah.
so yeah, let's just vote. Red Racer or Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
I go with Red Racer.
Red Racer.
I can't get Oktoberfest here yet. So.
I
I
probably
can get Red
can't.
Racer.
I cannot get Red Racer, and if I do, it's going to be like 8 months old. So,
Oh yeah.
We'll just have
listen.
to discuss it later.
yeah.
What
whatever.
about Sam Adams Rebel IPA?
I can get that.
I'm not sure if I can get that.
Chad, can we get that here?
Goose Island and Beauty, everybody can
Let me
get that.
double check.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
you can get it at the beer store, but not the LCBO right now.
We'll discuss that
Well,
offline,
stay,
and then
stay
Whoa.
tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Because
Lee
we
will
don't know
post
what the
a
fuck we're gonna do next week. I
Lee will
love it.
post a nice macho man.
Goose,
minute
Goose
long.
Island. Do it.
You
Goose
know.
Island
Yeah,
and Beauty.
I have the Macho Man on retainer, so he will let you know either a day or a couple days beforehand. There are people watching. And I mean, we're not as prepared as some other shows as far as planning out things months in ahead, but we still have no technical problems, and we're still much more interesting and enjoyable and sexy than some other panel shows out there. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
final-
BDU, that piece of shit show.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
let's do some final thoughts here, Lee. I'll start it off. My final thought for this week's show is I'm going to go out and buy Greg some WD-40 for his chair. Everything's
Yay!
going crazy, and that's my final thought. I like this beer. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Good closing
So-
statement.
Yeah, so we're going to move over, presumably, all to BDU on the Rhinos channel here in a few minutes. And thank you, everyone who is watching live. Thank you for the comments. And hope to see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Chills.
Bye, guys.